Welcome back!
Hi!
To another episode of the Wine and Spirits podcast, where we drink wine and discuss the paranormal.
We sure do. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank Friday, it's wine day.
Today we're going to be discussing a few creepy paranormal games, but first, let's drink some wine.
Yes, what are we drinking today, Myra?
1858 Red Blend.
Ooh. Let's give it a try.
Red. Yeah, let's give it a try.
I like it.
I like it. And
I like it.
I'm a red wine drinker, so of course I love it. But we will do the wine ratings
After our stories today.
Yes. So while drinking our wine, make sure you like and subscribe. And this really helps support the channel. I was going to say something else.
Yes,
but
it really helps. Yeah, it really helps support the channel, guys. We're looking for some more fans. We'd like to make millions someday. That'd be great.
And with that being said, now let's get to tonight's paranormal discussion.
Yeah, what are we talking about?
The first paranormal game we're going to talk about is Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board.
Ooh.
Light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Okay, now, who all has played this game as a child? Even as an adult, I'm sure most of us have. What are your thoughts on Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board?
Got my notes again.
Great.
Round 2. So typically it's a group game. It's played at mostly slumber parties. Mm-hmm. That's where I played it. And you sit around in a circle. You pretend like the person's dead, which is kind of morbid in itself. But you talk about them like they're dead and how sad you are. And then supposedly you're supposed to put 2 fingers underneath them and you chant together saying with
Light
your eyes.
as a feather,
Yep, stiff as a board. And supposedly the collective energy of everyone chanting is supposed to make that person so light that they levitate that you can actually lift them up with just your 2 fingers.
Light as a feather, stiff as a board. 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 Light as a feather, stiff as a board.
So that's how the game is. It's kind of like a seance a little bit.
I would say so. I think it's very mental. You got to put that person in that mental state. Mm-hmm. You know, in my experience, we didn't talk about them as they were dead. We told a story.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was usually the person that told the story. And the way that I had played it was, the person would sit and they would cross, their arms like they're dead. You got usually someone at their head, feet, and on either side, minimum. And if you could get like 2 on either side, that's good. Mm-hmm. And I was like do like a temple massage.
Yeah.
And you would tell them this like short story, usually something a little creepy. Mm-hmm. And when you start getting to the end, you'd be like, and they were light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Yep.
And then you kind of get everybody to like chant, and then you pick that person up. So what are your thoughts? How was yours?
Ours was similar. It was kind of the same. But the story would be, we would tell the story as if they were dead, like talk about...
Like their eulogy?
This is, for instance, here lies Sam. Mm-hmm. Sam was a, great mother to her cat Crowley. Mm-hmm. And blah, blah, blah. And you talk about, and this is how Sam died. Mm-hmm. Sam is now 6 feet under. Sam is now,
Light
feeling
feather,
cold. And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So you basically, you're describing them as they died, the feeling, like everything leaving their body, and then you start the light as a feather, stiff as a board chant. But from my experience at our slumber party, it actually works. So I don't know if it was collective. I don't even know how to explain it, but the thing that was creepy about it was she did feel light. Mm-hmm. Like we were able to lift her up. Mm-hmm. Now, did she levitate out of her hands? No. But how were we all able, it was only 4 of us around her.
Yeah.
How were we able to lift her up just with our 2 fingers? Like this, yes. But we all had just 2 fingers. And I swear by it to this day. I mean, it wasn't anything that, could have been faked.
Yeah.
we're all in elementary school, so
Yeah, and
you know.
the way we did it too was the other thing was not only were they light, they were stiff as a board.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I tried to lift you right now, your body would be like kind of limp, and we'd have to prop you up in certain areas.
Right.
Now I don't recall us doing just the 2 fingers, but I know I at least had my hand, and I know that we were shorter, sure, but we had gotten her above our heads.
Yep, that's
and then
same.
the breaking moment was she thought she was only lifted off the ground like a foot, maybe like that's what seems to be the feedback when we did it. And then also like she opened her eyes and all of a sudden like her body collapsed and we had to like catch her.
Yeah,
but we had her above our heads, so like that mental.
Almost like a meditative state that you put them in.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing with our girl, too. As she didn't realize how far we lifted her up. And it's almost like when you are out of that trance.
Yeah.
Like, then your body's, like, heavy. And then, like, you're like, oh.
And then you're like, I'm next.
Stress fall.
Because now you want to see if it worked on everyone.
Right.
And a lot of times, I feel like it did. Usually after, like, one person gets freaked out, then nobody else wants to play anymore. But,
But yeah, it's kind of like putting someone in a meditative state. It's like a seance, obviously. And this is a paranormal game that seems to be, I don't know, fairly common.
It's fairly common. And I would love to hear what everybody else, if you've played it, and what your experiences were with each of these games, if you've played it. And especially Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board, because I think we all have a memory of that. But the rest of them we might not all have engaged in.
True. Which brings us to our next game.
Wonderful.
The elevator game. I'm sure you guys have heard of this one. This one, I'm going to pull up my notes on this one because this one's very interesting. It's an urban legend, and it's a paranormal ritual that originated in South Korea, and it has since gained popularity on the internet. It's also known as the elevator to another world. So some of the believers claim that a ritual is performed, so it's a sequence of floors in an elevator. You have to specifically be in a building that has at least 13 floors. So, yeah, as you know, I think most buildings don't have a 13th floor. Like it's the 13th floor.
The number is missing.
But they skip it and they put 14, but it is still the 13th floor.
I still count it as the 13th floor.
So you have to have it with 13 floors, and basically, once you do these sequences, it's supposed to take you, if you do it correctly, it's supposed to take you into the other side, like another dimension.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it correctly, obviously nothing happens. It brings you back to the first floor. But some people warn against it. They say that sometimes, you can get stuck over there if you don't do it right, because you have to. Well, let me get your thoughts first, and then I'm going to read the sequence of.
Okay, I was going to ask you if you were going to read the sequence of it, because it is extensive. It is an extensive game. I don't think I will ever play it because it's kind of like a weird one. But my thoughts on it is it's really neat. I'm very curious, but I'm not curious enough, because the other thing is you want to play alone. Maybe we played it together. Yeah. I would be a little bit more open to it, and then if at least we get lost, we're not alone.
Right.
And I know that there is also rumor that Elisa Lam's disappearance, when she was in the elevator, some people said she was kind of playing this game as well, but I don't believe that personally, because of the sequence of numbers she's pressing, and it's.
And the thing about it is, like, with the game, like, yeah, you could see her pressing different buttons, but you actually have to go to those floors, and her elevator, strangely, actually just kept opening. Open. Yeah, which is weird to me. But just going through, so yes, it says that you can encounter malevolent spirits, you go to this other world, but here's what the steps are. So you are supposed to play alone, apparently. You hit 4, you keep holding, and say, when it moves, lift me to another place. Don't get out on the 4th floor. Hit 2 and hold. Bring me down where I belong. Doors will open and lights will flicker 3 times. This is the last time you can back out if you don't want to play it.
Question, do we have a specific floor we start on?
You start on the 1st floor.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
So when you first go into the elevator, you start on the 1st floor, and this is what and I think that's another reason why you have to do it at night. Like they say to do it at midnight, where like there's no one else that could interfere or get on the elevator.
Yeah, it's going to take a bit for you to get through this. So
right.
Carry on. Last chance.
So last chance to get out. You hit the 5th floor and say, deliver me a friendly face. 5th floor, when you get to it, a woman will get on. Don't look at her and don't talk to her. Look straight ahead at the elevator buttons. Now, I kind of try to dive into what would happen, and I've gotten mixed things. Like, some say that, you get sucked in, or some say you get killed by her and, like, you disappear or whatever.
Like, game over.
Yeah, so there isn't, like, a definitive answer, but those are just some of the things that people have said for feedback. Push button on the 5th floor, so don't talk to the lady.
Yeah,
don't
she's in the elevator with you, so you're not talking to her.
Don't try to look at her.
No engaging.
Yes. Push button for the 1st floor. Show me whether I am strong. So this is where I got a little confused, because you're not supposed to talk to her, but like if you're saying something, would that be considered talking to her? I don't know.
What if she pushed a different floor?
I don't know. That's why I'm like, I kind of wanted to play the game, but then I'm like, ugh. If it's
you
like
had some rando lady that you're not supposed to talk to, and she's like, "Hi, how's your night going tonight?" And you're like,
I need help. Can you help me? But yeah, that's the thing is I get nervous with those types of things, because like when you really believe something, sometimes you manifest it, and like I'm like, what if because I really believe this game?
Yeah.
What if it really worked? So you push the button for the 1st floor, show me whether I am strong, and then elevator will take you up to the 10th floor. Get out on the 10th floor. Find a window and look out. You should see a yellow cross. So if it works, it will actually, when you press the button for the 1st floor, it will actually just go up to the 10th floor. So supposedly, if you press the 1st floor and it brings you up to the 10th, that means it worked. If you just go down to the 1st floor, that means it didn't work. So then you repeat those steps again.
"Oh,
Then you'd be there all freaking night.
With that lady in the elevator."
Right. And so supposedly when you get off on the 10th floor, if it works, you're supposed to look out the window. You'll see the cross, which is random and weird, off in the distance. But you have to remember which elevator you got off on. So if there's a bank of elevators, you got to get back on the same one and do the sequence in reverse in order to get back to your world. Otherwise, you can be stuck over there.
What if the lady gets off with you?
I don't know. But I do know that there's supposedly stuff on the other side that's supposed to disorientate you to keep you stuck over there. So, and like, again, I think we talked about it before, like, it reminds me of that other side, like in Silent Hill, where she was on the other side, but it was like the same dimension or the same parallel.
Well, and I'm trying to think of like a lot of obviously most of this would be done in like a hotel, because not all of us have 13th floor elevators in our homes. But when I'm at a hotel, I'm like, I guess sometimes you get out and you're like, I don't know where the nearest window is unless it's in a room.
Right.
So, but you have to like either walk all
Probably
the way
down
down the
hill.
hallway,
Yep.
around another corner. You're probably lost. By the time you find that elevator you're supposed to get back on, it's probably the wrong one anyway. So do you just press that button until the right elevator opens up?
I don't know.
Right?
I think for me, I would probably bring tape with me so I could mark the elevator
smart.
because I'm just like, I'd be like, oh, wait. I still got pregnancy brain, so I'd be like, wait, was I on the middle one or was I on the right one? I don't remember.
But I'd be afraid that as you summon these elevators, like the most convenient one's going to come up, right? And then if that's going to be the most convenient one all night, would you just be stuck up there waiting for the same elevator?
So the basis that you're supposed to do it alone. Now, there's a movie coming out, I think this year. I don't know when exactly, but it's called The Elevator Game.
Yep.
But it shows a group of them playing it. So I wonder, like, does it still work when it's a group?
I guess we'll have to find out, which would be really good, because I think that
watching
people get knocked off in the movie, like one by one, you know what I mean? Like because they'd all have to encounter it together. But how many people can fit in this elevator?
I don't know. I feel like we should like do it and then like record it and like have that be an episode of us playing the elevator game.
If some lady pops in, Myra, it's I can't. What if we assault this poor lady that's just innocently walking? Because I'm gonna be like, get away!
Try not to look at her. Oh, she'd be like, what's going on?
So
we're
weird.
Like this. But yeah, so that's the elevator game, another paranormal game. But moving on.
The biggest classic of them all.
Last but not least.
The Ouija board.
The Ouija board. Funny story really quick about this shirt. It is, I got back to normal, but the last time I wore this shirt doing an episode, one of Megan's dogs randomly, which she's never done that before, kept going like this to me. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I had not a stemless glass. I wish I would have. But she caught the stem of the glass and went all over.
Spilt it all over you?
Looked like I got stabbed in the stomach. It was bad.
So she was not comfortable with your shirt.
No, she was not. Giving off some kind of vibes.
Okay. Who all has played the Ouija board? Most of us, yes. Yes. Who all mostly played the Ouija board at a slumber party?
Yep.
I think most of us have. I want to hear your guys' opinions on the Ouija board because I love the Ouija board. I am not, I don't want to say I'm not afraid of the Ouija board. I do take it very seriously. But at the same time, I don't think it's as evil as some people portray it to be.
Yep.
And if you guys didn't know, Ouija, oui is French for yes, and ja is also yes in German. So that's kind of where those two names comprise.
Yep.
So my biggest thing as to why I feel this way about the Ouija board, why I don't think it's as... I'm going to use the word evil a lot because I really don't think it is personally. I know a lot of people can disagree with me about that, but it has been around for so long.
Dating back to almost the 1800s.
Yes,
Yep.
and it was very popular during like the like especially with like World War I, when the spiritualism and everything came about again, and the seances came along. I feel as though like if the Ouija board was so evil, and everyone's like, oh, a demon's gonna come through. I'm not saying that some evil entities may not come through. I do believe there are evil entities out there. I just don't think that every time somebody plays the Ouija board that Satan's coming through that time every single time. I do believe that it is a contact for the other world, and obviously a lot of people in the turn of the century believe that as well. Now, if that were the case, with how many people and how common Ouija boards were, I mean, Parker Brothers has made millions off of it alone.
Is it Parker Brothers or is it Hasbro?
I think Hasbro now, I think, but I think it used to be a Parker Brothers.
Was it Parker Brothers? Okay.
Yeah, one of the two. Please check that. But I feel like, why isn't there more haunting in everybody's house? Why isn't a spirit following everybody who has played it for how long? So that's kind of where I'm at with how evil, dangerous it is.
Right.
I mean, and to each his own. I understand if some people don't want it in their house. I understand if some people don't want their children to be playing with it. You've heard many stories that my mom threw it away and it appeared the next day in the closet in my room.
That's what happens.
There's certain ways to destroy it, things like that. And in my experiences, I've contacted the same spirit a lot. And I haven't played it in a few years, to be fair. But I was going to say, sorry, Ouija board. So I haven't contacted any of the spirits in a really long time.
Yeah.
But I'm also kind of a little bit more weary about who's playing it with me. I guess because I feel like some people either don't take it seriously, and I just want to play with the right people. Well, and if you don't have the concentration to play it, then
that's a good point that you bring up, because it is. I guess it depends on what your intentions are when you're playing. Because if you have bad intentions, then probably bad things will happen. If you have good intentions, probably good things. But a lot of people say that it opens up portals, so that's why there's certain rules for the games. When they advise you not to play alone. I know a lot of people still play alone. They advise you to close out of a session, say goodbye when you're done.
I do believe that.
They advise you, not to antagonize the ghosts or spirit or whatever you're talking to. Be respectful. So there's a lot of rules that go along with it too, but a lot of people, I feel like, connected with evil because of how it has been, the stigma of it has been evil in movies, just mainly mainstream Hollywood has always made it seem like it's evil, like you're going to get possessed immediately if you play with it.
And that stigma started with The Exorcist. So that was the first movie that the Ouija board came into play, where somebody, of course, got possessed. But this Ouija board has existed, 100 years before that event even happened, before that movie even came out. So my thing is I'm kind of weary. If you open the door to your home, plenty of good people can walk in, but there are definitely people who probably are pretty shady that can walk in as well if you open your doors, right?
Yeah, and that's, I guess that's my opinion on it too. It just depends on what your intentions are. I personally don't play with it just because I'm very sensitive and I'm always worried about something getting attached to me. Whether it's negative, it doesn't always have to be negative. It could be something good attached to you. Sometimes, you have good spirits around you. Sometimes you have bad spirits. With or without a Ouija board, they're going to exist. Sometimes you can open it up and bring more stuff in. But, it just depends on, like I said, what your intentions are when you're using it. If you have good intentions, I feel like you're going to attract that kind of, those kind of spirits, those kind of energies. But at the same time, a lot of people feel that, if you're opening it up, anything can come through. And that is true. You can get some good along with the bad. But I feel like as far as being possessed, I feel like that came around because of the movies. And maybe it did happen to someone, maybe that boy, it really did.
The original story of the Exorcist boy that we had discussed in a previous episode. Yeah, so he was playing with the Ouija board with his aunt. But at the same time, I feel like, I don't know. I mean, good things and bad things. Like, your intention is huge. I also feel like, if you're desperate. Like, if I had lost a loved one and I'm trying to contact that loved one, I honestly have never gone through the Ouija board route to try to contact anybody. I feel like if someone's at peace and if you feel and know that they are, leave it there. And there's no hidden treasure you need to find out if, what the combination is for the, safe deposit box from grandpa. I don't think you should try to reach out to people I don't believe you're really going to get the answers you're looking for if that's the case. Now, if you're reaching out to someone in the spirit world, and especially if you are desperate, and that's probably where they're like, oh, they pretended to be my parent or grandfather, whoever it might be. So, when you're vulnerable, that's another really sign of possession as well. It's like when you put yourself as vulnerable as you can be already, I can understand not so...
Well, that's actually
great spirit coming through.
That's actually one of the rules. As they say, don't play if you're uncomfortable, if you're feeling like that, if you're feeling, any kind of negative feelings like suicidal, depressed, anything like that. It's best not to play at that time. But it can happen. So I believe that he did get possessed, and it probably was because of the Ouija board. But I believe that it's kind of like if you fly in a plane, it could crash. It's like it's those rare instances where something does happen to someone. Doesn't mean it's necessarily going to happen all the time or to everyone if you do it. But yeah, it does have a lot of negative stigma around it.
Yeah.
But you think about it, it's a game made by now Hasbro before Parker Brothers, which they make a lot of board games like. How it's another divination tool, like dowsing rods, or when you do seances, stuff like that, or like crystals. So I do believe it connects. It's hard.
I do believe it connects with some spiritual things out there. And I'll share a couple stories that I've had with my experiences. Of course, the usual birthday party sleepover. I had a girl that her parents or her birth father and her mom were not together, but she, her mom had remarried, and I was at her birthday party. And we were playing the Ouija board in the basement, of course. Lights are a little off. And she was asking the Ouija board all these questions about, like, her birth father and, that he didn't call her on her birthday and stuff like that. And then it would say things. And this is stuff that I didn't know about. I mean, yes, I knew that her stepdad was not her birth father, but he hadn't called her, and that was kind of the big thing. She just said, why isn't he calling me? And it said, like, it spelled out, like, afraid, and, like, he's afraid, things like that. And then we're all just, like, involved in this board, and she had, like, stepped away. And then she stepped away, and then it spelled out her name. I won't say who it was, but it spelled out her name, and it would say crying. And then we were like, what? And we all turned around. She was in the corner crying. And I was like, nobody had paid attention to her. I don't think anybody saw her crying and spelt that out. And so we all were kind of like, oh my gosh, like, are you okay? And then, she had said, hey, I just wish he would call. I was, he knows it's my birthday. So those are things like, what a dang coincidence. And if that is somebody that was there that did that, that is very cruel to, like, kind of point that out. Same session. We also had, this was back when Ace of Base was really popular as well. And one of my favorite songs was Don't Turn Around. And, Don't Turn Around.
Yeah,
yep.
but...
And
don't want to hear that when you're playing the Ouija board.
No, it's
behind you?
Yeah. So we were communicating with the spirit that I usually had communicated with, and this spirit's name is Russell. And I talked to Russell many times. My cousins still say, "Hey, do you remember that Ouija board?" Like it was always the person that came through for me anyway. And I don't know who this person is, but Russell was my spirit, Ouija board spirit, and it said like, don't turn around, because we were like, oh, they're asking it questions, like mostly getting yes or no answers. And we had said something like, hey, is there any song you want to hear?
Oh,
and then we didn't get an answer, but we moved on to like the next question or something like that. And then it said, and it spelled out Sam, and it said, don't turn around. And I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, and I'm like, is there anything behind me? And my friends are like, no. And then I was like, and then it spelled like song, and I was like, oh, thank goodness. And so we played the Ace of Base song.
Oh my gosh.
Like freaky?
That is kind of freaky.
Do you think, I mean,
I don't know. It's hard for me. Like a part of me, because I'm sometimes when I go on investigations, I feel things or I have stuff happen. So I'm a little skeptical. And then at the same time, I'm a little more cautious just because I don't want to bring anything home to our already haunted house.
Hence, I don't bring a Ouija board on a ghost hunt. That is a different type of tool that stays within that board, in my opinion. You bring all the other equipment, and with ghost hunts, you just kind of let whatever happen, so you can truly. You don't want to focus on like what pushing a planchette around could be. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
But that's what I mean is different things are used for divination tools. Like you're using a spirit box and stuff like that. What's the line? If you're saying a Ouija board is considered evil or whatever, what about, the white noise that you're hearing in the spirit box, that can have stuff come through. I mean, that's where I have a hard time with it, because I'm trying to understand, where people's perspective is of, okay, don't use this to try to contact spirits, but it's okay to use this tool to contact.
True.
That's what I'm trying to get at. Like, what's the line?
Because we don't know. It's unexplained. It's unknown. Who's to say?
And I mean, and even in the article that I was reading, they're saying that there isn't any real scientific proven fact that it can conjure up spirits. It's all based off of people's personal experiences. So,
and I feel like so many people have those. So I'd love to hear what your guys's are. What you think about it. If you can put in the comments, I would love to hear those stories. That would be a good episode to like read out.
Yes. And right now we're actually going to do some honorable mentions for not
paranormal
necessarily
games.
Paranormal games, but a kind of.
Okay.
So, hide and seek.
Hide and seek. I believe, okay. How many times have you, when I was a child, we always played hide and seek in the dark. And with my childhood, my parents are like, don't play too late at night because the ghost will hide you. Thanks, Mom and Dad, again. But, but it was like, and it's like, I don't know if they just wanted us to come back inside, but weren't you happy with us playing outside, like getting out of your hair? And we'd always stay in the yard. There's always like places you were at. And so that was one of the things my parents would say. And it's like, well, and how many times have you ever had this where you're like, you're in a spot and somebody comes over and they saw you. They saw you. And they, for some reason, just walked past. And then after the game is over, you're like, I totally thought you saw me. They're like, no, I never saw you. Like,
because the ghost was hiding you.
Because the ghost was hiding you, right? No, and even though they're like, you're just kind of like,
you're like,
keep it quiet, and they're like, they're reaching everywhere around you, but they don't get you, and you swear, and you thought maybe they were doing you a favor by not like tagging you as the person being found. And I've had a few of those where I'm just like, yeah, and usually by that time I'm like, I don't want to play anymore because I am damn sure that person saw me, especially playing with my siblings.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like I watch too many scary movies, so I don't want to do the whole thing where I'm close my eyes and stuff, hoping that they don't make eye contact, and then I open my eyes and something's in my face. So I'm just like, no, thank you. But what's your thoughts on Ghosts in the Graveyard? I know some people play it in fields, people actually play it in a graveyard. What's your thoughts on that one?
It doesn't bother me. I mean, I think that I'm comfortable with it, but I would also still believe that it was in the same vein of like hide and seek at night, things like that. But I just feel like people just kind of give up too fast. Maybe those are my experiences. Like if we're in a graveyard, graveyards can be really big. Where those people that don't hide in the vicinity of the area that you're supposed to stay in, those
cheat.
people ruin the game.
Yes.
And so I think when I'm out and playing those types of games, there's always a couple of those people. So I'm done with that pretty quickly. When I'm playing a game, I like to kind of stick with the rules, and I'm kind of already slightly scared. So I don't want to wander out into the woods a little further than I need to because you're supposed to stay in the graveyard. But we're playing in a graveyard,
right?
But I don't want to go out into the woods in the graveyard or past a certain point,
right?
Or when you think you see somebody and it's not like one of
your people. Oh,
like you see those shadow people.
Yep.
I'm like, and I think things like that kind of like end it for me pretty quickly. Sometimes because
you're I'm done, or when you've been hiding for a long time and you're starting to get creeped out, like you're getting the feelings of
I'm asking for it at that point. I'm like, oh yeah, they're coming out to let us know that we better move along. And
move it along,
kids. Yeah. What else you got?
Well, that was pretty much it. I was just trying to think of if there was anything that was more paranormal, but that's pretty... Oh, the reverse of hide and seek is sardines, which I told you about.
Yep.
So it's kind of along the same lines, but I just wanted to get your take on it because I know a lot of people say that sometimes playing Ghosts in the Graveyard is disrespectful because you're walking on people's graves and it's bad luck and stuff like that. So
I used to be really afraid of graveyards when I was little, but now I like them all the time, obviously. And and I like to visit the graveyards when I'm traveling, like just to walk through. And
especially in other countries, it's kind of cool to see.
It's so cool to see, and I feel like yes, I don't want to say it's not disrespectful to step over a grave, but people step over graves all the time. I mean, you're standing on the person when you're putting flowers down. You're doing all these things. And it's like, if you go at it with the right attitude, I'm not there to, maybe I shouldn't be playing Ghosts in the Graveyard, but I'm also an adult now. But those are disrespectful things. And I will admit that was probably very disrespectful. It probably is.
When you're young.
Yeah, when you're younger, you kind of like thinking you're cool. But I don't play Ghosts in the Graveyard now at night in a cemetery. But I will go to a cemetery at night and maybe just like hang out or visit. But most of them are locked.
So share your thoughts in the comments on what you think about the paranormal games that we talked
about.
Or
if there's one that we don't know about, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, that we missed. Let us know.
Yeah.
But with that, we're going to do the wine review now. Let's taste it again.
Try it again. This is the red blend, 1858.
Just so you can see it. Yum, yum, yum.
I actually really like this one.
I like the taste of it. It's got that fruity, berry, like dark fruit taste to it.
Yep.
I like the beginning and I like the end.
I agree.
So it's good it's well-rounded. I love it.
Yep. And it's not like very tart either. Like you get past that very quickly because you can have that flavor come through.
Yep.
So I do like it a lot. What's your rating?
And I like medium-bodied wines like this too because I don't like it when it's too dry because then you get that. But my rating for this is going to be a 4.5 because I really like it.
I'm going to say for a red, I'm going to give it a 4. That's up there. I do like some reds, and this is definitely one of them I like a lot. Yeah, but with that being said.
Hey, before we go, did you spot the pentagram? Yeah. Where was it in the episode?
Put it in the comments below.
Thank you, and we'll
see you on the other side.